So what are the major tasks we have in test planning? Test planning, major tasks in test planning. Determining the testing scope, risks and objective. The first one is determining the testing scope, risks and objectives. So first thing, scope. What is scope? So we use the terminology inside scope and outside scope. So what we can test it, it is known as in scope. The features we cannot test, they are known as outside the scope. So in scope and out scope. Risks. What are the risks we are facing in our activities, testing activities? So we have to make list, and based on that we are going to carry on testing. And objectives. In test planning, we are going to set the test objectives, the goals, what we want to achieve during our testing activities. Yes, so this is what. Second, defining test approach. We will define the test approach. Defining the test approach. Definition of test levels. How many test levels we have in when we define the test approach? The main two things we will decide is like including definition of test levels. How many test levels we have and their definitions. We studied levels, yes, component testing, component integration testing, but are we exactly following the same standard or we will have a different approach? Yes. Entry and exit criteria for each and every level. We have to have the entry criteria and exit criteria. Entry and exit criteria for each level. Can you explain me what is entry criteria and what is exit criteria?
When we test a requirement is entry and when we get a result is exit.
Can you repeat? I couldn't hear you properly.
When we test a requirement or test cases is called entry criteria where it maybe is get a result is called exit criteria.
No. The entry criteria is when we will start testing any level we have. So we have the requirements for what should we have then, and then we can start testing. That is entry criteria. The requirements to start testing is entry criteria, and what we achieve at the stage we will stop testing. When we are going to stop the testing, that is exit criteria. So when we achieve these many things we will stop testing, and when we have these many things they are known as entry criteria.
Okay.
So for component testing we have to have the component specification. Yes, the
Yes.
code ready. Without code we can't test it. The unit should be ready. Yes, components should be ready. So they are the standard entry criteria. Integrating and coordinating testing with development. We have to integrate test activities with the development activity. Integrating and coordinating testing with development. We need to integrate our test activities. If the developers are developing the software in a different way, then our testing we won't be able to achieve anything. So we need to integrate with them, we need to collaborate with them, and accordingly we need to set,
Means tester activity coordinate with developer activity.
yes, development activities.
Okay.
And you can say development life cycle activity, then it makes more sense. Life cycle activities. So if the developers they are building the software in a waterfall model, then we can test it in a waterfall model. If they are building the software in agile models, one of the agile models, and if we try to use waterfall model, we will not achieve anything. So we need to coordinate whatever the software development life cycle is used, we need to test accordingly. Software development life cycle, SDLC.
Okay.
We have discussed this one in chapter 2. Yes, based on our development activity, our testing activities we have to do. Yes,
Yeah.
making decisions about, in test planning we will make decisions about what to test, what we are going to test. Yes, what to test. You have 150 requirements, then you won't test everything. Yes, then what is the priority, everything. So what to test, who will perform the test activities, who will perform the test activities, how the activities should be done, what activities who is going to perform, but how it should be done. You are told write something means you have to do and follow the exactly the same way, otherwise you will not achieve. You need to follow the script step by step, step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5. But what if you do step 3 first and step 1 second and step through to fourth, something like that. If we change the sequence, we will not achieve the expected result.
Yes.
How results should be evaluated, how the results should be evaluated, and we need to know how we are going to evaluate the results. Yes,
Yes.
if you don't know how to evaluate the result, then it also a problem. So we need to have the expected result, and then we need to match this expected result with the actual result. We need to know first what do we consider as a test pass and what do we consider as test fail. Yes, if we
Yes.
don't know what is test pass and fail, then we will not know anything. Scheduling activities, then we need to schedule the activities. What are these activities? Analysis and design.
Okay.
Analysis and design. Reviewing requirements and designing the test cases from the requirements. When we will start analysis, when we will start designing the test cases, and when we will stop. Yes,
Mm.
how we will implement our testing activities. So implementation, based on our plant, how we will implement. Execution, who will execute and what time and when to stop, when to start, when to stop, in what phases, and evaluation. And we need to evaluate our test activities results. Yes, assigning resources to different activities define. So if we have multiple activities anyway we have, then if in one areas some people are working very actively and achieving, yes, they are before the deadlines, and some people are behind the deadlines and they are not achieving, they are lacking behind, then we have to reallocate the resources, reassigning resources to different activities. One of them is this one, but at the same time there are n number of activities, different activities. Test data preparation, test data gathering, test design, test execution. Yes, there can be another different activities like training new resources, researching what tool fits our testing, our project. Somebody will do that research. That all things are part of activities and we need to assign, allocate. resources. If you work in the smart metering, the manager will come and say, okay, you need to screw the wall. You are a
Okay.
tester, but you will say that, oh, I'm screwing the wall. So that could be that. Yes, that
Yes.
would be part. It is not part of testing, but other activities you do if you work in a smart lab. Next, defining test documentation. Defining the test documentation. So, what documentations we are going to use and at what levels? So, the amount of documentation. Everything are we going to write or something we are going to have verbally, orally? The amount, how much document, level of detail, how much levels we are going to provide in the document. Structure and template, what structure we are going to use in the documents and what templates we are going to use. So we have to have the standard specific structure and templates for any documentations we use in a test project. So we have the consistencies. All documents should look similar. If we have the test design template, test case template, then if you write the test case or if I write the test case, our test case terminology, wording should be similar because we follow the template. So if somebody comes outside the team or outside the organization and they say who wrote the code, they won't be able to identify the individual. Yes,
Yes.
selecting matrix for monitoring and controlling. We need to select the matrix how we will gather the data so we can monitor and control our testing activities like test preparation. How many test cases we have? How many requirements did we cover? Yes. Test execution. How many test cases we have designed? How many test cases did we execute? How many defects we found? Defects resolution. How many defects are fixed? How many defects are deferred? Risk issues. Is there any risks? They all should be discussed and planned. Setting level of detail for test procedures for repeatability. If we need to repeat any activities, then we have to set the levels of detail for test procedures for repeatability. If we are going to repeat any activities, we need to set the level. How much regression testing we are going to do is it just an example. Yes, if we need to redesign the test cases, how much in detail we will go. Test data, how much testing means overall, how much testing we are going to do when we have to repeat any activities. These are the tasks we are going to perform in test planning. Do you have any question? Any question? Hello, are you there?
Hello.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Any question?
No.
Definitely no question. Okay, the next. So we have discussed what are the major tasks we have in
Yeah.
test planning. But when we prepare the test plan, so what are the things we are going to cover in the test plan? So we can discuss next is test plan outline. When you prepare the test plan, it is advisable you use some of the, this is the standard. You don't need to have literally everything. But in test plan, we should indicate some of the things. We should mention these things and we should follow the standard means. It is a standard template kind of thing which should be covered in test plan. Which test plan identifier. When you prepare a test plan, you need to have an identifier, an ID of the test plan. Because if you have multiple test plans, yes,
Yes.
how do we identify this test plan is for specific project? So according to the project, you can define the name, give an ID of the test plan. You can see UAT test plan, unit acceptance test, no, user acceptance testing test plan, yes, integration test plan, system integration test plan, component test plan. Accordingly, you use the ID. Introduction. According to the project you are testing, yes, based on that, you need to introduce, have the introduction of the test plan. So, short, brief introduction of the test plan. Features to be tested. Yes, you need to mention the features you are going to test, and you need to mention features not to be tested. Features not to be tested. That could be the reasons you cannot test some of the features. There could be they are out of scope or somebody else testing, so they are out of scope means, yes, or it will be covered in the future, so they are also out of scope, yes. Approach. What approach you are going to use for your testing activities? Item pass and fail criteria. If the test case passes or fail, you need to have pass and fail criteria, yes. So you mention that. What do you consider test plan pass and what do you consider test fail? Suspension criteria and resumption requirements. Yes, suspension criteria and resumption requirement. In what case we are going to suspend our testing activities, we will stop our testing, and in what condition, in what case condition, we will resume the testing activities. So, as for example, if you find a showstopper bug, yes, if you find a bug which stops your testing, that bug is known as showstopper. Okay, then you can't carry on testing. You have to stop, suspend until and unless that bug has been resolved. What kind of bug? As this is just an example. Okay,
Okay.
if you can't log in into the system, can you do any other activities? As for example, you want to send me an email, but you can't log in into your email account. Will you be able to send an email to me? No. So in the same way, if you have some of the bugs which stops you doing other activities, these bugs are known as showstopper bugs. If you have bugs like this, you need to stop your testing activities, and when resolved, you can resume it. So accordingly, we will have suspension and resumption requirements. Test deliverables. Whatever you are delivering, they need to mention in the test plan. Whatever it's your called deliverables, okay? Not just the product. At the end of the project, whatever documents, whatever things you have, you deliver, pass it to someone. They are known as deliverable. So test plan, test policy, test approach, test cases, test data document, any configuration management, different versions you have the product, whatever you are using and whatever at the end of the project you are going to deliver, they are known as deliverables. Environmental needs. Whenever you are going to start testing, you simply can't test it, but you know, so what tools you are going to use, what programming language you are going to use, what database you are going to use, how you are going to configure them, they are all your environmental needs. Yes, as for example, If a .NET based application, then you have to have the .NET. If it is Java based application, you have to have the Java. Yes. What tool you are going to use to code, how you are going to, what would be the production environment look like, whatever the test environment look, what type of databases we will have, how we are going to configure this data. They're all part of environment. Staffing and training needs, and training needs. How many people do we need in our project? How many developers, how many testers, how many management team members? If we need new people, how do we provide them training? If we are going to implement or use a new tool, how we are going to use the new tool? Yes.
Yeah.
Responsibilities. We need to allocate responsibility to each and every team members. So we need to assign them responsibilities. We have to have the timetable schedule when to start and stop specific activities. We need to mention risks and contingency plans. Yes, risk and contingencies. If we face some of the risks, how we will overcome? What is there any plan B? That is contingency plan. And we have to have two kind of risks. One is product risk and project risk. Product risks and project risks. Chapter 6 will cover them in detail. But if any risk affect the product, then it will be a product risk. If the any issue, I will use the word so you can understand. If anything happens, an event occur, an incident, adverse incident occurs, and because of that our project is delayed, that is known as product project risk. And last not least, but approvals. What do we call approvals? Sign up and then this release can go ahead. So in the end, we have to have the approvals criteria. What do we consider? These requirements, this test case, anything approved, so they can be released. In the test plan, we need to cover these many things. If we want, it is still based on the organizations, and they can add something, they can remove something. Yes, but these are
Yeah.
the things we have in a test plan template. Yes, any question?
No, it's okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
let's carry on in test plan outline. In test plan outline, we can have a master test plan. Yes, what do you consider a master test plan? What do you consider master test plan means? The plan, the test plan we define for the overall project, the whole project, it will be considered a master test plan. So the master test plan will have definition of test levels. Definition of test levels. Each and every level we have to mention and need to define them. Responsibilities for each level. Yes, we need to assign, we need to mention the responsibilities for each level. Entry criteria for each. We need to clearly mention when we are going to start that specific level. So we need to have entry criteria for each level and exit criteria for each level. What do we consider entry criteria? It defines when to start testing. What do we consider exit criteria?
When we get at something, when we achieved something.
Yeah, so when to stop testing.
Yeah.
So define when to stop testing. These are entry and exit criteria. So in master test plan, we are going to mention levels, test levels. Yes, test levels. So some of the sample test levels can be component testing. Yes, testing. component integration testing. Yes, system testing, system integration testing. And you can have user acceptance testing. Yes, testing. So you have defined these many levels you can have. Yes, in the master test plan, you have defined these many levels of test plans and testing we are going to perform. So based on this plan, based on the master test plan, you have to have the specific test plan for these levels. For component testing, you can have component test plan. Yes, component test plan. For component integration testing, we have component integration test plan. And these plans will have specific details about the specific level. Whatever we discuss in the test plan outline, exactly the same outline should be there for this test plan, and this test plan should cover everything. What are we going to do in this specific level? For system testing, we can have system test plan. For system integration testing, we can have system integration test plan. Yes. And for user acceptance testing, we can have acceptance test plan. So these plans are required. If you have the master test plan, that doesn't mean that how you are going to do this specific level of testing. Yes. So for component testing, you need to have the specific test plan for component test plan. Yes. Any question?
No.
So let's discuss the entry criteria and exit criteria. Yes.
Yeah.
We have discussed what is entry criteria once define when to start testing. But we have to have the certain requirements to start testing, and when we have to have the certain requirements to stop testing. So we say what are they? So typical or standard entry criteria. They are standard, yes, they are not specific. So what is ready is the term you can use it. So in that you can use availability of testable requirements. Yes.
Yeah.
What do we consider? Availability of testable requirements. Before you have the testable requirements, you won't be able to start any testing. Yes. So first you have to have the available testable requirements. Then you can analyze them, and then you can design the test cases or whatever activities. So first you need to have the testable requirements. Another user stories. You know user stories, yes, or models if we are going to use. If we are following model based testing. Availability of test items that have met the exit criteria for any prior test levels. So we have to have the availability of test items that have met the exit criteria for any prior test levels. So we have levels of testing. Yes, no, here only. So we have some levels here: component testing, component integration testing, system testing, system integration testing, and acceptance testing. Yes. So these are the criterias we have. These are the levels of testing do we have. So when we finish component testing, when we meet the exit criteria for component testing, we can start component integration testing. So this what it mentions: availability of test items that have met the exit criteria for any prior test levels. So for acceptance testing, we could have system integration testing, and that level should have met the exit criteria, and if it is available, then and then we can start it. Yes. The specific level: availability of test environment, availability of test environments. Yes, if the test environment for the specific level is not ready, we won't be able to test. So this test environment should be ready. Availability of necessary test tools: the tool or tools we are going to use, they should be ready. Yes, then and then we will start testing. We can start testing. Availability of test data: you have everything ready but the test data not ready, then you can't start testing as well. So you have to have the availability of test data and other necessary resources. As for example, test cases should be ready, test data should be ready, whatever the resources. If the people are not there, then we can also not start. Yes. So when we meet these typical entry criteria, then and then we can start testing, otherwise we cannot start. Any question?
No.
So in the same way, we have standard exit criteria. What do we consider? This is the definition of done. Yes, when something is considered as done. So what are they? Plan tests have been executed. We have a plan that many test cases we will execute. Yes, all these test cases have been executed. A defined level of coverage. So we have test coverage. Yes. What test coverage? Requirements coverage, user stories coverage, acceptance criteria coverage, risk code. Whatever we have planned that these many things we will cover, they should have been achieved. Yes. Requirements coverage, user stories coverage, risks, etc. Yes. When we cover this, when we are doing requirements coverage, then we can say we have covered 100% requirements and we have met them. We can consider this as the definition of done. Next, the number of unresolved defects is within an agreed limit. Yes, number of unresolved defects. So what happens when we will stop testing? So we have agreed that we will go by the n number of agreed unresolved defects based on their criticality. If we meet, then we will consider them as exit criteria. Yes, there is a definition of criticality. You have 20 defects. You agree that we will release this product when we have less than 100 defects. Okay, you have 50 defects, but those 50 defects are high in criticality. Can we release the product? No. So we have to have the based on the criticality. We will discuss it. What is the importance of the requirements affecting, means these bugs are affecting the requirements, and what is the importance of these requirements? Functional requirements, functional importance. Yes, in this case, we will wait until we meet this criteria. And we have to have estimated remaining defects. Okay, and estimated remaining defects is sufficiently low. We can accept these many defects in our software, and they should be low, and they should be low in criticality. Yes, then and then we can release the product when we can stop testing. Next is evaluated levels of reliability. How reliable is the product? Yes, product reliability. Performance efficiency. What is the performance? How is the performance of the product? Product performance. Yes.
Yes.
Usability of the product. Security. How secure the product is. And other relevant product related areas. When we are going to meet them, in this case, we can release the product and we can stop testing. And the last but not least, money and time. How much time do we have before we release the product? How much money do we have? As for example, before the start of the project, we say that we will build and release the project or the product in 6 months time in working hours. So if we are reaching that, do we have the time? Before the start of the project, the business have assigned some budget money. You can spend this much money on the specific product. If we are exceeding them, then also we will be asked to stop it. If we still need to do testing, then what do we need to do? We need to ask for more money based on the importance of testing. This is why there are people are spending more money on testing. If I give you, I have given you enough examples, but if I give you examples of organization, Empower, HSBC, yes, NetWest, TSB, Barclays, you can count these you can have n number of organizations when the product didn't work and they spent billions in compensation, and this is the reasons they started spending more on testing activities. So in the initial phase, what happened? I tell you, they said that the testing is required. Somebody called me and somebody was telling me, I heard that some tester told that guy who wants to learn and come into testing that I want to come into testing. And no, no, no. There will be a time only developers will do testing. Then he was asking me, and I said, this can't be possible. developers won't do testers work. But they used to do long time back. The company wanted to save money, the organizations wanted to save money in the project. So what they used to do, they used to ask the developers to do the testing activities. So they were overburdened. That is a different story. They are overburdened. But what happens? Saved so much money not spending on testing or testing activities. Yes. So as a result, what happened after a few years or after a few months, their product started showing some failures. Yes, their product having some issues. And when the products are having issues, what happened? People started complaining that their business is having some adverse impact, and they have to pay billions in compensation. And now they realize, these all organizations, they realize these are just a few numbers, names I have given you. But these organizations realize it is better, it is wise to spend more on testing than to give them in compensation. Yes, to the customers. And the compensation is 5 times more than the testing they are going to spend. So there are more and more testing activities. In my team, there are 3 developers, but we have 3 testers. They used to keep 10 developers and 1 tester to save money. And the tester will just support some of the activities, and the developers do major testing. And this is the reasons why there are more and more testing rules coming. The company started thinking, let's spend more on testing, so the product would be a quality product, and when it is live we will have less issues, and when we have less issue it will have less adverse impact on the business. Any question?
No.
Okay, if you don't have question, let's go to the next topic. What influences our test plan? The factors our test, or the say the test plan. Yes, test planning. So you have planning, but certain things are there you need to keep in mind, and then you can accordingly you can prepare the plan. So first thing is test policy of the organization. Test policy document. What level of quality we want to achieve? That would be stated in this organization test policy document. Testing scope. Yes. What can we test and what we cannot test it? What we can test, we can say inside scope, and what we cannot test, we will say outside scope. What are the objectives we want to achieve? Yes. What are the risks we are going to have of the product? Yes. Risks. What are the limitations we have? Constraints. There can be time constraints, there will be resources constraints, etc. What are the constraints we are going to have? Criticality. How critical is the software? Is it complex software or simple software? Based on that, we will our plan. We will prepare the test plan. Testability. Testability of the requirement or requirements. Testability. If the requirements are written in a badly worded and they are not testable, then we have to repeat these activities and spend so much time just to gather the correct wording in the correct requirements. Yes, so that defines the testability. But to test is there as well. Yeah? Are the requirements testable? Availability of resources. How many people are there in our team? Based on that, we will decide. Yes, resources. If we need more testing and less people, then we have to spend more time. If we have less and more people, then we have enough time and less. So, based on this, we will prepare our test plan. Before we prepare the test plan, we have need to keep these factors in mind. If we do not keep this in mind and prepare the test plan, what happens? Do you know? Can you answer? If we do not keep these factors in mind and if we prepare the test plan, what will happen?
We cannot execute
Yeah,
test
so
plan.
we cannot achieve what we want to achieve. Our project can derail. If we cannot sufficiently or properly test the software, then what we are going to do? We will have so many problems with the product. We won't be able to deliver a quality product. Yes, we have to compromise, and when you compromise, this is not a good sign. Any question?
This constraint and criticability.
Okay, constraints means limitations.
Okay.
What I'm typing. So, as for example, if you are given that we will deliver the product in 1 week time and you have 1 week to test the software, so that is called time constraints. Yes.
Yeah.
As for example, here we can say availability of resources. You say the management comes and that we are going to release this product in 1 month. You have 4 weeks to test, and you need 10 people, but you have 5 people. Then this is constraints for you. Yes.
Yeah.
The next one is criticality. How complex is the software? How critical is the software? Yes.
Yeah.
Or you can, in order to understand complex is the product. The functionalities you can, based on the requirements, you can say how critical is the requirements, whatever you are delivering. Yes, they are the criticality of the. So if I need to give you one example, I can say you are working for a banking software. Yes, and in that banking you are working for ATM software. How critical is the software? How, what are the databases you are going to use first thing? How these databases are integrated? What are the systems you are going to use? How the systems would be integrated with the ATM management system? Yes, people can come. What happened? I have a card. I lose it somewhere. Just people insert the card and steal money. Yes. So based on the importance of the software, we will define the criticality, and that is also coming from the risks. It is product risk, project risk. So let's go to the product risk. If you work for the healthcare software, what data it is going to handle? Yes, based on that we will consider the criticality of the software or the product and how they implemented it. Not just that, how they implemented it. Is the implementation simple or complex? This all covers in criticality. Any other question?
No.
Any other question?
No. It's okay. I can understand.
I can't hear you properly. Any other question?
No, it's
Okay,
okay.
let's go to the next topic.
Yeah.
So next topics would be the difference between the test approach and test strategy. Can you explain what is the difference? I have
No.
explained you already yesterday, before, and few times. So what is test approach and what is test strategy?
For making planning to execute the test cases or test plan is called test strategy
Okay, what is approach?
approach. I don't know exactly.
The implementation of test strategy is test approach. Simple.
Implementation of
You have
strategy.
planned something, you have some strategy, and you
Yeah.
implement the strategy. It's test approach.
Okay.
Let's
Okay.
give an example of cricket. Okay, we are playing one day 2020 and test matches. Even I forgot these test matches. Yes. So one kind of a strategy would be in 2020 is high scoring matches. Yes. So we have to restrict the opponent teams, opposite teams score. How they can control? They can have one of the strategies. We will bowl in a way that we will bowl wider's ball. Wider ball they won't be considered at wide, but the batsmen will struggle to reach the balls. Yes, so they can't hit properly, and if they can't hit, they will be able to score less runs. We have a player, a specific player. He's strong on leg side. Then what the strategy would be for this specific player? We will just bowl everything leg side. Yes, we have a player which is very weak in the offside. Then we will bowl like that. We have some player, specific player, he can play really well with his spinners. Then when he is there in the batting, we will just ask the fast bowlers to bowl. Yes, these are the strategies. When we implement that, that becomes test approach.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what is test approach?
When we implement this test
The
strategy.
implementation
Yeah.
of
Test
the
strategy.
test strategy for a particular. We don't need to write particular project, but you can say particular project.
Okay.
And what are the strategies we can have? So test strategies can be analytical, analytical, model based, methodical, process or standard compliant based, reactive, directed, and regression averse. So these are the approaches we can use it.